Good morning. This is so exciting.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
For those of you who don't know, my name is Nicolle Williams, better known as Mrs. Moneybags.
And I'm Jason Allen John, mortgage agent. I don't have a nickname like you, so like I feel like you're a little bit cooler now.
No, I believe we're both cool. We're both cool. We're so excited.
Yes.
For what we're bringing you.
Exactly.
It's our brand new show.
The Wealth Effect.
The Wealth Effect. We're here. We're live on iLive Radio.
Yes, thank you to iLive Radio for giving us a chance to start this new show that, we're going to be providing a lot of information to everybody, regarding wealth.
Yes.
All things from, myself and Nicolle are mortgage agents,
Yes.
but we're not only going to stick to mortgages, we're going to do investments. We'll do talk about like estate planning.
Yes.
We'll talk about, entrepreneurship, just different things regarding just building wealth and different levels. Because, they say to be a millionaire, you got to have 7 streams of income, right?
Yes. 7 streams, right? So that's it. So we're literally helping you to help us to ensure that we're elevating, right?
Yeah.
It's 2021.
Yeah.
New year. Basically, we're halfway through January.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of, just starting on a positive note, positive trend. And we're hoping and that you will grow with us as we start off. So this is literally show 1. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to lock in live every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so we're excited.
So let's get into it. So I think the first thing that we should probably do is just tell people about ourselves, because I don't think it's our first show. So let's focus on the introduction. You can go first. So
That's cool. That's
Ladies
cool.
first.
Ladies first. So again, my name is Nicolle Williams. As I already said, people know me as Mrs. Moneybags. I've been in the financial industry since 2003. Mm-hmm. And I literally love what I do. I look at myself more as a financial educator than anything else. I'm here to really help empower this generation because, the reality is money is something that is extremely taboo. People don't like to talk about it. They don't like to think about it. And I've been trying to shake that whole facade up, So I am a mortgage agent, exactly like we discussed, mortgage agent with Canadian Tailored Mortgage Solutions, our great brokerage that we're both a part of.
Yes.
But, I have longstanding history working with the big FIs, financial institutions, for those who don't know. So
I'm just going to ask you some questions.
Sure.
So let me interview you for a little bit.
Yes.
So you can turn the mic on me. So what made you get into financial services? How did you start into that?
Great question. So really, the reality was I kind of stumbled. Well, for me, I grew up, you're thinking, okay, so I grew up in Galloway, a more socially, economically challenged area.
Okay.
And then when you're looking at people that are successful, you always see, okay, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're bankers. So that was something that kind of stuck with me.
Okay.
I actually wanted to be a lawyer. That's really what I desired. A social justice kind of fight the power kind of lawyer.
Yeah.
And then, I was working retail, and then this lady came up to me. She just loved me. She's like, oh my God, I love you. You have great energy. You're this, this, and this. Lo and behold, I didn't know she worked for Canada Trust.
Oh.
She set up an interview, and then it just kind of, the chips fell into place, right?
Okay.
So got in that way, and then I started to realize, these conversations weren't happening. How come no one that I know knows these things that I was learning now by being in the bank and being exposed to new types of topics and conversations? And then it just kind of snowballed where I realized, oh my gosh, there's so many people that are building wealth.
Yeah.
And why was it something, how come I didn't know about that? How come my mom didn't know about that? How come my family didn't know? People that I grew up with didn't know.
Okay.
And then I realized that obviously we're not an anomaly. This is something that is just prevalent. And here we are all these years later.
So did you start off as a teller?
I did.
Okay.
I started off as a teller. So again, that lady that came into I was working retail. She came in, she loved me. She gave me her card. I had no idea. I wasn't even thinking, right?
Yeah.
And then she ended up being a branch manager.
Okay.
So I interviewed with her directly. I got hired with Canada Trust. Obviously, people know, maybe if you're younger, you're probably like, what the hell is Canada Trust? This was before they merged with TD.
Okay.
So I started off with them, and then shortly, maybe about a year in, it was announced that TD was going to be basically buying them out. They call it a merger, quote unquote, but let's call it what it is, right? And then I'm like, oh my, I'm going to lose my job. Like, you know, what's going to happen? Whatever. But, you know, that didn't happen. And fast forward, here we are.
So that's an interesting experience to just go from like a big bank that merged.
Yes.
So like, and you're starting your career to be scared a little bit. So just far as when you took the steps to get into mortgages, how did that happen? Like, how did you get into now the entrepreneurial spirit from, you know, I come from a banking background, so I'm curious because I'm sure you'll probably ask me and I'll say why, but like, I'm curious what made you switch to something that maybe was more commission based? Because I find when I was working in the bank, that was like shunned upon. Like sales, like super sales. It's like, no, you want to be like a VP, branch manager, area sales manager, regional manager, whatever that like trend is. But like, what made you want to do like mortgages? Because that's unique.
Good question. So really for me, what happened was I started realizing back to the wealth building strategies and realizing that one of the quickest ways for people to build wealth is through real estate. Right. And with that being said, I didn't want to be a realtor. I loved homes and owning, and I understood investing in real estate, whether it's commercial or residential. But I just didn't have that passion for that side of it. Right. And then so I was also mutual fund license. I had all of that behind my belt. So I was like, okay, do I want to do the investing side as far as like being a planner, or do I want to get onto the investing as far as the real estate side? I had already owned my own property at that time. I kind of lucked into it where I became a landlord. It wasn't something that was planned as well. We can talk about that another time as well. So I lucked into becoming a landlord, realized that real estate was basically a great avenue. Friends and everyone started asking me, like, how did you do this? How did you do that? Like, they wanted tips and advice. And then I said, okay, you know what? This is a good angle. So let's get into the mortgages side. So I started doing the mortgages with TD and realized thereafter, like, there was a couple of deals there was a lot of deals that I wasn't able to place simply because, you know, if you're working with a specific bank, you gotta place it with the specific bank. And I started looking and saying, okay, I'm losing a lot on the back end, having to refer them out, send them to other people. And I'm like, people are not coming to me because of TD or the brand or the banner. They were coming to Nicolle. So I realized that there was power in Nicolle. And I said, you know, let's take an opportunity and just kind of step out on faith. And just do it, right? That's what it was.
Ah, man, that's nice to do that entrepreneurial side of it, and now, like, you know, now you're full-fledged, just straight entrepreneur. Like, although it's kind of like we do kind of work in a system, but our business is our business, right? So you're now on your own, and we could relate to a lot of other industries because of that, right? So I think I always find our position is very unique because we interview people when we're doing our mortgage application. And it's like you learn a little bit about their job. So it's like for that, like, let's say 3 months, 90 days, however you're along with that, you're with that customer, it's like, oh, I kind of understand a little bit. Not, obviously I'm fully not into it, but, but it's interesting that side of it and then understanding some of the struggles. So that's a unique story. So as far as investing side, you said you own property, but like, is that another wing that is part of the story about like helping people as far as being a mortgage agent?
Of course. So what I realized, exactly what we said, is that real estate is one of the major pillars that help people to build wealth. And as you said when we started the show, you know, you need 7 streams of income. So that is like one stream in which I hold. And then because I'm a talker and I love to share, I'm never the person that, I don't believe in hoarding information. Some people, like, they learn things, they get the gems, they get the cheat code, and then they try to keep the cheat code for themselves, right? That's never been my style, right? So I've been always that girl that's shooting it from the mountaintops. Did you know you could do this? Did you know you could do that? And as a result, I try to use myself as an example, almost, to be like, okay, well, if I've done this and you can do it, and this is how you can kind of get yourself strategically placed in order to be successful. You know? And
also, like, saying to people, don't do this because I did that, right?
Correct,
like,
exactly.
Like leaving out mistakes and stuff. Right, that's kind of, that's interesting, man. Like, obviously, I knew a lot about that story from before, but it's good to tell everybody, like, you know, where we come from. So
And what about the great Jason Allen John? Let's talk about your story, right? Like, so how did you start? What got you into it?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, it kind of started out in high school. I was taking a co-op class, and my sister, she works in banking. So I always saw her, so I was like, okay, you know, she's my big sister. I look up to her, so I wanted to follow her, right? I seen that she was making good money, so I was like, I want to make good money too. So I actually applied to be a teller, and it was at a credit union.
Okay.
But then she was working at Bank of Montreal. She's like, why are you going to credit union? Come to BMO. So I ended up getting a job as a teller, and then when I graduated high school, they offered me a job.
Yes.
And I just started rolling over from there. So
right
I
from
ended
high
up,
school.
yeah, right from high school. I was like, I feel like I always say I was like older than I actually was, because I was just straight like, I don't know, working in the bank, it's almost like you want to be like married with like 5 kids when you're like 20.
Yeah,
so it was like, I found the bank made me be like super mature, even like a little ahead of my time. And so I just followed that trend. So I set a goal when I was like, okay, when I graduate college, I wanted to make $50,000. And that was like what I wanted to do.
Yes.
And I knew I can do it through certain positions in the bank. Because I know when I worked in a call center, so there's times that it was dead. So I'd sit there, scroll, look at the job applications and see what credentials and be like, okay, I think like I meet that and I meet this, right? So I, like you, I was doing investments in school.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be an investment advisor because I like the stock market.
Yeah.
But actually, I kind of went through a bit of the .com crash as going through school. So I saw how much the market affected my, when I said I did co-op at Nesbitt Burns, and I was watching the investment advisor, and I saw how much the market affected his job.
His portfolio.
So he almost had to explain everything. And I'm like, man, I don't want to, like this has nothing to do with me. It's not my advice. I didn't know like this company's going back. So me, like in my naive self at that time was like, nah, I think I want to do financing because then people have to come to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to go into commercial lending because I really wanted to do like condo financing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up, and I did commercial lending for about 4 years. And then at that time, I wanted to make a transition, and that's when I went into mortgages.
Mortgages. Oh my gosh.
So I became a mortgage specialist and at BMO. And like I remember that first year, I'm used to like, oh, here's your portfolio, grow this by 10-20%. So I'm like, oh, that's easier. Just sit there and call people on the list and just grow it and sell them something, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then I remember when my area sales manager at that time, he was like, I was like, okay, so who do I call? And he's like, you see your phone? And he's like, that's your list. He's like, go and call. So I remember I went home and I was just kind of like sitting there and I'm like, who do I call? Like, what did I do? Because usually I was selling clients that the bank had, but now I have to sell family, friends, people that didn't even know me.
Your own database.
Yeah, my own database. So it was very interesting. It was like shocking because, to be honest with you, for the first 6 months, I was sitting at home playing Call of Duty. The bank paid me a salary, so I didn't know what to do. So I remember that first year was like 7 mortgages, and then I worked at BMO for 2 years, and then I ended up. One of my former colleagues became an area sales manager at CIBC, and called me and said, I'm starting my team, and I want you to be a part of my team.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like, I left. Because sometimes, you need a little bit of change to spark your ingenuity and your enthusiasm. So I went over to CIBC and it was great. They gave me a lot of opportunities. I was able to go on TV.
That's when you and I met.
Yes, that's when you, yes.
Yeah.
So that was a cool opportunity because they gave me, like, I was on a commercial with CIBC. I was on income properties with Scott McGilvery. So it was very, very cool to just do that stuff with them.
Yes.
But after a while, like you, I was like, man, customers were coming to me and they needed maybe private lending or they wanted to do construction and I couldn't help them. So I realized there's a limit, and then that's when I left to go to the broker channel about 3 years now. So it's 2017. Yes. So so it's been interesting, and I was with Vine Group, and me and you did a live, and we figured, I think we could have a great working relationship because this mortgage industry is vast and we have a unique mindset and we want to help people.
Yes.
So that's part of the reason we're doing the radio show.
Yeah.
So it allows us to provide more, but I saw that, so we decided to connect and, you know, join Steve over at CTMS.
Yes.
And yeah, so we're here. So that's kind of like my story. I don't know if you have any like.
No, but there's a couple of things that you said that I want to just touch on, which is really unique, because you said from high school you just knew, like, you maybe their maturity level was just on 100.
Yeah.
What do you think contributed to that kind of mindset? Being so young.
You know what?
And being a male so
Yeah.
young, right? Because sometimes I can see females being super focused. You know, I want this and I want this and the picket fence and the whatever. Like, you know, but as a man, you know, no shade.
Yeah.
That usually comes a little bit later in life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think partly because I always wanted to do something that like I could come home and like brag to my mom or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of it was like I wanted to be able to take care of my family. Like I found that you know, even through playing sports or with my friends, I had a little bit of like a leadership position.
Yes.
So I felt like I had to be able to be in my best finance position to be able to do it. I like numbers.
Yeah.
I hate English. Like, so you asked me to write something. Actually, now I'm getting a little bit better because of the amount of reading that I've started to do.
Yeah.
But as far as in the past, I hated English. Like, I love math. So I was like, okay, numbers. But I only like math with a dollar sign in front of it. So all that stats and all that other stuff, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yes.
So I always knew I wanted to make good income. So I played sports. I thought I could be an athlete like everybody else. I wanted to be Michael Jordan, you know, like, you know, I wanted to go make millions doing that, but I realized I wasn't going to make millions.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I got to get into something that's going to make me money. And, you know, I put the money together. I liked architecture and design. So I just kind of leaned into the banking world. And I think when you get into the bank, like anyone who's worked in the bank, it kind of like snaps you into play, because what I liked about working at the bank, and I tell a lot of people it's a great experience, because you see so many levels of success from different levels of position. So like there's HR, you know, there's marketing, you could be an investment advisor, or you could be in commercial, or you could be in insurance, or you could be at a call center. So it's just like there's webs of where you can go to be successful.
Yes.
And that just helped me like kind of look, like I said, I used to spend all day on literally searching jobs.
Yes.
And even jobs that were much greater, that I would be like, okay, you need an MBA, you need 6 years experience, you need this. So I'm like trying to think, how can I like game plan to figure that out, right? So it just, as I think working at the bank,
really did.
Yeah, like once I got in and you're working with people, like I'm 18, working with 27-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, you know, so the conversations were different.
Yes.
And I would come home and I'd even not, like, and my sister, I'd have those same conversations with her. So, and I always noticed that even the conversations with my friends were different. So you're just trying to start to float towards the people that have those conversations. And I'm very lucky that I went to college with a great group of guys that I still even talk to now, that we were always like-minded in that we always talked about, like, you know, what we would make and how we would make it and what we would do with that money.
Yes.
So I swear I'm lucky with the people that surround me that kind of introduced me to a lot of things that where I'm at now. I have to give thanks to all of those people that grew me with that, right? So
there's a couple of commonalities that I'm just gonna point out, and maybe you can think of some as well that are similar in our story. It's you know, you had that belief in yourself, okay, just thinking bigger, how can I plan it out? And then also another key thing is the company that we surrounded ourselves with, people that perhaps even saw things in us that we didn't see in ourselves.
Exactly.
And that's why I tell people all the time that relationships are super key, like because you don't know what relationship can help you or assist you in your path of life, right?
Correct.
So it sounds like, you know, your friends were great relationships that you had, you know, relationships that you had with your you know, co-workers and people that you were surrounded with. And that's kind of similar to what I experienced as well.
Okay.
Because what I find is sometimes just by having an example right in front of you, like how you had with your sister, of what success can look like, and then also knowing that with your success, if you can just follow certain steps, you could perhaps mimic that. You know? So that's exactly why we wanted to have this show, because there's a quote that, says success leaves clues.
Clues, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And if you are paying attention to those clues, which is what we're hoping to be able to, drop gems and drop, good little things that our listeners can take away.
Exactly.
It's like we're giving you the inside game.
Yeah, exactly. So just to add to it, just before we go on a break, they say that, like, I always say, you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
You just have to figure out a way to make it spin faster.
Yeah.
So that's it. So all we're trying to do is, there's a wheel here.
Dropping gems.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is Jamie Sparks, and you're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio.
Hey, this is Jermaine Robbins, and you're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio.
Yo, this is Kiana O'Quinn, and you're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio.
This is Lavinia J from the UK, and you're listening to iLive Radio.
Attention, all musicians, bands, associations, clubs, and organizations that represent collective styles of music across Canada. Now is the time to rebuild our collective music nation. Genres like hip-hop, R&B, jazz, soul, reggae, gospel, and more united. The Collective Music Nation is a non-profit organization committed to the development of collective music. Free memberships are available now. Collective Music Nation. One voice. Strength in unity.
This is Miss Care keeping you connected with your iLive 5x5. Brought to you by iLive Music. Sponsored by Independent Hype. And powered by The Hook Entertainment. Contribute to the conversation by using hashtag iLive5x5.
For the latest and greatest in soul music and more, stay tuned to iLive Radio throughout the week.
Connect with our team at iliveradio.com or follow us at iLive Radio across social platforms.
The number one hit music station.
You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
Okay, guys, so we're back. If you're just tuning in, this is our debut of The Wealth Effect by CTMS, here with Jason Allen John and myself, Nicolle Williams, and we are live on iLive Radio.
Yes. Thank you guys for joining us. We're very excited to present to you The Wealth Effect and to provide you a lot of great information. So right now, let's just get into something like, let's provide some information to people so we can get started on a little bit of discussion.
Yes.
So right now, obviously, we're going through the COVID. Right now, we're all going through lockdowns here in the city of Toronto, and I'm sure there's other places in Canada that are going through that. We're experiencing an interesting we're almost coming up to a year.
I know.
Can you believe that?
Wow. Honestly, it's mind-boggling when I think about it at times, right?
So before we get into like what's going on right now, I want to ask you, honestly, Nicolle, how did you feel as a mortgage agent when you saw the rates go from like 3.45%, I think prime, and then prime dropped to 2.45 in a matter of like 3 weeks? How did you look at that as like a mortgage agent, and how did you help your customers, and what were you even thinking about how you advise people?
Yeah, well, when everything first hit, I had a couple of deals I was working on. Nothing where clients were super, they weren't in a tight situation. It was more like they were taking money out to do renovations. And, so I had a couple of people that said, hey, let's put this on pause because we want to just see what's happening with the economy.
Okay.
So at first, my initial reaction was one of like, oh, crap. I got to like maybe tighten up the belt buckles a little, right? And then I started to see, okay, rates were coming down. People were now reaching out to me to say, hey, I want to do a pre-approval. Yeah. And then I got more pre-approval requests. And I'm like, okay, something's really happening. Yeah. So now I'm talking to my realtor friends. Yeah. And they're like, no, man, it's starting to pick back up. Like, so just be on the lookout. And I'm like, okay, so something is shifted in maybe the minds of people. As far as, going from wanting to sit on the sidelines and kind of seeing what happens to now saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to just take the chance and just get in. Yeah. So as the rates were coming down, more pre-approvals were coming on my desk. people were putting in offers. I said, okay, something really is here.
Yeah.
So what I was realizing, I had a lot of clients that were in the core of the city, but because they had this unique opportunity to work from home, they were like, okay, now, I don't really want to be in the core, but I was in the core because it was close to work. Let's look at, getting to other parts of the area of the city where I can now get more bang for my buck, right? So that was kind of what was happening with my clients. They were moving further east or they were moving further west outside of the core. And then also what I was realizing is for my refinance clients or clients that could benefit from a refinance, when your rate was above 3%, this is a unique opportunity for you to, look at, does it make sense from a dollars and cents perspective to perhaps break your mortgage, pay the penalty, but in the long run, you're going to save more in the back end because the rates are what they are now, right? And so we had great success with that. And then a lot of people wanted to they were realizing if we're going to be under lockdown, I can't travel, I can't do this, I can't do that. I want to make my home like super comfortable. So projects that they probably were putting off and those customers who initially said, okay, let's put this on hold for a bit, they were doing like major backyard renovations, to make their backyard like this great oasis, or they were doing their basements, so people were starting to dump a little bit of money into their homes because they're saying, if I'm going to be on lockdown, I want to be as comfortable in my own home as possible. So what were your experiences going through?
Well, I was like crazy shocked because the rates were falling. Okay, so the funny thing about it is if you go back to November, December, I had a couple of I did some master classes with shout out to my boy Aaron Charles, Mike like that was a great time. We helped a lot of people. And I was saying that the rates were high. Because the market was indicating something was going on in like the bond market. And just to describe to people, because I'm getting a little bit technical. So our mortgage rates are sometimes linked to the Canadian bond rate. So 5 years, 10 years. So what the Canadian bond rates are what the banks or even the Canadian government uses to borrow money to pay for, our healthcare services, to all the, the CERB, everything that you see that they're giving out. A lot of the times they're borrowing that money by issuing debt. And that debt has an interest rate related to that. And that interest rate is sometimes related to what we pay in mortgage rates. So I was seeing that the spread was coming down, but it wasn't being reflected on what the banks were charging the customers. So part of me felt like there was some sort of disconnect, but I didn't know what it was because I didn't have any research on COVID and I had no idea what was going on, right? And then all of a sudden the rates just started, COVID started coming out, we started going into lockdown and the rates just started falling like crazy. And like I had actually clients that I was working on like switching them to from variable to fixed because we were thinking rates were going to go up because the economy was doing so well. So I had to cancel application because we went into variable rate or it was better for them to stay as is. So I lost a little bit of business. And then all of a sudden it was very challenging time period because I felt like every bank had different rates. Like some had really great variables, some didn't. And like, just to tell you guys, like as a mortgage agent on the back end, it's very volatile sometimes in dealing with the banks and what rates they offer to the customers because it's very unique depending on for them when they borrow their money. So you started seeing some huge disconnects in the market. And then, now when I approach it, it's hard for me to give very long-term predictions because after what we went through, you have to learn from that. So it's kind of like, can rates go up as fast as they went down? Of course, and I think that's the one thing I hope people will take into consideration because that can change your situation. Like a lot of the increased valuations that we're seeing in the housing prices has everything to do with the fact that people are paying 2% lower on their mortgage. So now I'm like, if I could pay 2% lower, I could pay $200,000 more for X house, right? And that's driving this market. So if rates do creep up back to what they were even last year, like we can have a different market. And to your point, this is why people don't understand why we have a different qualifying rate versus the rate that the client may see on their contract. Correct.
Right? Because exactly what you're saying is people sometimes get too comfortable in the over below 2%. and then they start planning and budgeting their whole life based on that below 2%, not realizing that we are towards the bottom end of where rates will be. And there is, I'm not saying that they won't go down a little bit further, but if it goes down, my thought is that it's probably going to be a small margin. We're more likely to be going up than down,
and we kind of want to go up because, to be honest with you, you want the economy to do better, right? So I understand everyone, like, it's funny. I remember, I don't know about you, but there used to be a trigger. When the rate was 299 or under, I felt lots of people rush to buy. So I feel like that trigger is going to be like 199 now.
Correct.
So I'm not trying to be a predictor or anything because I'm throwing that out the window for 2021.
Yes.
But like, you don't want, like, watch. If the rates start going above 2%, you're going to start seeing people try to come out of the market because they are actually going to be scared because they're going to be like looking like, oh, well, someone I know got 1.29% and I'm paying 2%. You know what I mean? You start getting into those conversations. So I just want to get into like a little article that I found, like, now that we're talking about that. So it's interesting. So this is a Toronto Stories article, and the title says, Canadians believe more in the housing market than they believe in the overall economy. And this is such an interesting title because
when I saw that, I was like, wow, they believe more in the housing market than the overall economy. Like, I don't think that's kind of a big statement, right?
Well, I think that's true. If you think about it, what was essential? We're essential services.
Yes.
Realtors end up being essential services. Construction is essential services.
Yeah.
They know they can't stop that. Like, our economy, I don't know the percentage, and we should probably try to look that up. But a huge percentage of the economy is based on finance, commerce, and then construction and that other side of it, right?
Yes.
So it's interesting. They have a poll. They said that 78% of Canadians are concerned with the financial impacts, but only 43% of them are concerned with the real estate market. And only 19% of them believe that the pandemic has, weakened the competition within the real estate market. So although we're going through an economic crunch, a recession in some senses, it hasn't ruined the enthusiasm to real estate.
None.
And what I was saying before, my opinion, the only reason why is because the rates are so low.
Yes, and that's true. Because what happens now is a lot of people that were sitting on the sidelines, maybe thinking about, okay, well, should I just wait? They're realizing this is one of the cheapest times from an interest rate perspective to get into the market.
Yes.
Let's not talk about the price of housing, right? Yeah. But sometimes when you know that the rate is as low as it is, it actually can give you back to what you were saying, a false sense of security.
Yes.
Because your monthly cost is reduced as a result of that change in interest rate, right?
And again, I feel like that's what everybody bases their situation on. So let's get into something else. So we'll talk about this. So there's another article which I sent to Nicolle today that I read yesterday. It said, why RAIN, which is Real Estate Investment Network, is prepping Canadian real estate investors for the rise in foreclosures.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So there's a couple of, what do you think about that title when you hear that? What comes to you?
You know what? This kind of, my honest opinion, was similar to what CMHC did.
Yeah.
To me, I think they're trying to be like that fire starter.
Yeah.
Where everyone is riding a wave and everyone's feeling great about things, and then CMHC came out and said the economy isn't doing as well, or real estate's not going to do as well as people are thinking or they're predicting. And here we have RAIN now saying that we're going to have an increase in foreclosures. But when I really went into the article and really read what they were saying, I kind of understand. So even though the caption was kind of catchy, I understand what they're saying in the body and the context of it, right? Because back to what we're saying, is there a false sense of security in what is happening in the actual market, right? And then outside of that as well, it goes back to, yes, people have been able to maintain, but again, we had the mortgage deferral program. Yes. As the deferral programs come out, we're now in a second phase of lockdown.
Are they going to extend it?
Are they going to extend it? What are the employment rates looking like?
What's going on with the eviction? I've heard some of them have been lifted.
Yes.
I just want to get into even some of the data in it. They said, in a in a Stats Canada data from 2016, it pointed out that only 50% of Canadian borrowers at that time said they could cover 8 months worth of mortgage payments, with only 30% able to cover 4 months and only 20% able to cover 2 months.
Yes.
So there's not a lot of flexibility. But I want to read what their point was, which is kind of interesting. So what they said is, what they're trying to say is that according to Rain's formula, it takes approximately 18 months for a dramatic drop in the country's GDP to work its way through the housing market. So unemployment feeds, the population declines, which kills rent values, which leads to a rise in housing supplies, which erodes home prices. So 18 months after February 2020, Rain places the target for Q3. And in Q3, Bank of Canada that's when they're saying that the spike of the arrears is going to come to play.
Yeah.
So one thing I want everyone on our listeners to take into consideration when it comes to this article is that we may be in like a state of joy temporarily, but things could change quickly. So what happens if the effects of this is not felt till Q3?
Yes.
You know, and there's a lot of things that, in my opinion, I think we're going to have a crazy spring. I think rates are still going to be crazy low. I think anybody, you should look to refinance, contact us, contact CTMS for refinancing. Myself, Jason Allen John, or Nicolle Williams to look into that. But what's important is that it could change very quickly. And one thing that I'm thinking about that's changing and why this prediction is, and I think there's a lot of inflation. And I know no one talks about it in Bank of Canada, says it's like under 2%, but I think that's what's going to cause this huge spike.
There is inflation. When you just look at simple things as going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Like that's usually one of the easiest ways for anybody to really notice the impacts is usually, they say usually through the gas prices.
Yes.
And through like your consumable goods, like the housing goods,
Yeah.
right? So, and the key thing I want to reiterate that was said in this article, and Jason said it a couple of times, is that there is a lag. So that means you may not necessarily see the impacts of what's happening in the back end.
Yeah.
Similar to what you said in the beginning, you were like the spread between the bond yields and where the rates were, it didn't make sense to you.
Yes.
But it took time for it to get to where it made sense.
Correct.
Right? So that lag is exactly what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So, you know, we're here to help you. The Wealth Effect Show is here to help you to, you know, think smarter, think differently, and, you know, hopefully put plans into place so that when Q3 hits, we're coming from a place of power or a place of, you know, preparedness rather than trying to be, you know, reactionary. You know,
because the housing market is very FOMO-ish, right? So I think people, like your neighbor sells your house, and then you want to do something because it's a reaction effect. It's a domino effect.
Yes.
And that's why it has a lag indicator, because you don't realize something is wrong until after it's happened.
Yes.
So what we have to do is get prepared. And, you know, as we're going to go through the wealth effect and a lot of these episodes, we're going to be speaking to guests and to other people that are going to provide this knowledge to you guys, so you can get that information to make the most educated decision. And that's all. Like, I'm trying to provide you guys, and me and Nicolle are providing you guys with information so you can go back and you can do your research. I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm going to say it again. After 2020, there is no crystal ball. Anything could happen. So you have to be prepared for all sides. So it's a great time to review your finances.
It is.
I think this is financial review. It's February. It's tax time.
Yes.
For first home buyers, it's very important. I think anybody who took a CERB payment, you really need to look into your taxes before you actually file them. You know, some people might be able to do some like RSPs to like reduce their taxes payable. So there are strategies, and we're going to bring on many professionals on to tell us some tricks and trades and how you can build wealth. And sometimes building wealth is just being prepared for what can happen next, so you could take advantage of opportunities.
Yes.
You know, like if the stock market goes down, you want to have cash aside to get into the market, right?
I did read something recently where they're saying as a result of the pandemic, people are more susceptible to financial literacy.
Yes.
You know, it's something that, you know, we've always championed in our careers, but it's something, it's a conversation that most people don't like to have. It's a conversation that's necessary, but they don't like to have it because for most people, there could be shame related to their finances,
Yes,
right?
money.
And that shame sometimes holds people back from really seeking the information. But because of the pandemic, a lot of people are being more open.
Yes.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So just look at the wealth effect as another, tool in your toolbox of whatever you have in your arsenal to help, prepare you so that, we can definitely weather the potential storms of what may come.
And especially right now, we're in a lockdown. Like, we can't do much but look at finances. And I know a lot of times why finance is taboo. Because you know how people, like, they tell people, oh, don't tell people about your money.
Yes.
Don't tell people about your goals. They're going to kill your goals and stuff. And I think that's why we don't talk about it.
Yes.
And then that's the worst thing about it, is because what I found in my career is how much people don't know about finance and money. And it's not nobody's fault.
Yeah.
I even find people in the banks don't know. Because the bank only teaches you how to look at things in a way that suits their needs. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with that. They're a business. They need to provide for what they do for their shareholders. So I always say that we as individuals have to look at ourselves like a business. If you don't look at yourself as a business in 2021 and going forward, I think you're thinking backwards a little bit in planning if you're trying to build wealth, you know. And honestly, it's not for everyone, because I think there are some people that are just fine, like paycheck to paycheck and living, and that's what they want to do. And I'm not going to take away from what you want to do, but for those that want to build wealth, you got to look at yourself as a business.
Very key. That's super key. And and that's what we're here for. We're here to provide the information, to be a sounding board. And then also, we want to hear from you guys. So what we're going to be doing as well every week, as a part of one of our segments, is we're going to have you guys, log in, ask us any questions that you may have. Visit our Instagram page, which is The Wealth Effect Show on IG. You can leave us a DM. We will start taking, questions and, drop anything that you want us to discuss or anything that you've heard. Your mom might have said something, your dad might have said something, your neighbor. So please, we are looking for this to be an interactive show. We don't want it to just be about what Jason and I want to talk about.
Yeah, like, what do you guys want to know? What do you want to learn? What can we offer? What can we bring? Please let us know. Write in the comments. This is an open forum. This is for the culture, for the people to learn and to earn and to also figure out how to get themselves ahead, you know? And before we go on our break, when we get back, we're going to talk about, I'm actually running a little contest, or we're running a contest. We have a giveaway that we're going to do, and we'll talk more about that after the break. But yeah, this is Jason Allen John and Nicolle Williams from The Wealth Effect.
Stay
brought to you by CTMS.
Hi, this is Michonne Young, and you're listening to iLive Radio, supporting independent artists from all around.
This is Ronnie Sia, and you're listening to iLive Radio. iLive Radio. Changing the way you listen to radio. Listen to radio. Listen to radio.
It goes down right here on iLive Radio. Yo, this is Razan here, and you're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way we listen to radio.
What's up, everybody? This is Cy Smith, and you're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio.
My beautiful people, it's your man Tayanis, and right now you got it locked to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio around the world, baby.
Nothing makes you look, feel, and perform better than a tailor-made suit. Just like a tailor-made suit, a mortgage is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Canadian Tailored Mortgage Solutions will customize a mortgage to perfectly suit your needs. Come and get fitted for your mortgage today at 1-877-834-9346 or reach us on the web at ctmortgagesolutions.com. COVID safety protocols are in place. Brokerage license number 13228.
This is Miss Care, keeping you connected with your iLive 5x5. Brought to you by iLive Music, sponsored by Independent Hype, and powered by The Hook Entertainment. Contribute to the conversation by using hashtag iLive5x5.
For the latest and greatest in soul music and more, stay tuned to iLive Radio throughout the week.
Connect with our team at iliveradio.com or follow us at iLive Radio across social platforms.
Here are some more
words of wisdom. Don't change your station. Don't change your station.
You're listening to iLive Radio.
So here we are again, guys.
Yes, welcome back.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Again, this is our debut show of The Wealth Effect.
Yes.
Myself, Nicolle Williams. We have Jason Allen John. Brought to you by Canadian Tailored Mortgage Solutions, so CTMS for short, right?
Yes. And we're very excited to bring you this debut show, just to give you like a little introduction of what we're going to do. And if you didn't, catch the beginning of it, this is going to be on all platforms, and you'll be able to rewind it, and you could hear a little bit about our story, which is very similar, to be honest with you. So it's good to be, collaborating with you, and I'm very excited with some of the guests that we're going to be bringing up. But before we just talk about anything else, when I was on my live on Thursday to introduce the show to everybody, I said that we're gonna be giving away a book.
Yes.
The book is called Master Your... Wait, let me get the title right before I screw this up. Hold on.
So we have some great giveaways.
Yeah. So I'm an avid reader. I love reading. Nicolle, you love reading?
I do. I actually do.
So, and I think one of the major things that I could talk about in my life when I had even like a low point when I first became a mortgage agent and I was lost. I was making great money as a commercial account manager, and I went from probably making like a good amount of money, like six figures, to like maybe 25% of that.
Yeah.
And what helped me get back into like the groove and grow my business was reading, And now I try to read like, a book every 2 weeks, if not try to do more. I listen to audiobooks all the time. So a lot of the knowledge that I gain is from these books. Yeah. So we want to pass that on to the audience. So the book that we're going to give away right now is all about mortgages to start with. And it's called Master Your Mortgage for Financial Freedom, which is about the Smith Maneuver. And essentially the Smith Maneuver is a tactic that as Canadians, we're not allowed to write off our interest on our mortgages compared to those in the U.S. and other countries, which is an advantage because, man, if I could write off my interest, it's a lot of tax savings.
Yeah.
So the Smith Maneuver is a tactic or a strategy that you can use to actually make your mortgage tax deductible. And, we're in the middle of the show, and I don't have enough time to really get into that. I think that's a show on its own that me and Nicolle could really dive into and talk about it. But essentially what I will say is that it's being able to transfer your non-taxable deductible debt, which is an existing mortgage, to a more taxable, more investment loan. And what you do with that investment loan is the similar that you do right now when you want to buy a property, or you want to buy stocks, or you want to invest into your business. You use that money with the intent that you're going to produce some revenue. So this book is all about understanding the Smith Maneuver and how you can implement it in your life. So obviously, if you want to get more information, please contact Nicolle or myself. But in order to get a copy of the book for free, what we need you to do is to follow and like our page, and then repost it on your story. And what we'll do is next week on air, we'll give away the book to somebody.
To be clear, the page that we're asking you to follow is The Wealth Effect Show. And this is on Instagram.
Yes, and this is on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know what? And just because we're just starting, if you repost any of myself or Nicolle's tags or anything, we'll get you into that too.
Yeah.
We're just trying to provide some knowledge to the community. And I think, I was saying to Nicolle this morning, I think we should be giving away books on the regular.
Yes. We're thinking of doing a segment like where we kind of we'll give away a book, but we'll also like dive into it, talk about it, flesh it out a little. Right?
So we'll we'll talk more about this actually book, The Smith Maneuver, on one of our future episodes. But I'm very excited about what we're gonna do, and I guess another aspect of the show is the guests we're gonna bring on, and and if anybody, obviously you too out there, if you want to be a guest on our show, hit us up. Like we're open to any type of feedback. Anything that you can add to the community would be great. But let's talk about something that you're going to be working on, this month. That is actually really a great event.
So I'm super excited. I'm going to be a part of a date with real estate. It's in a great event that Samantha Brooks, another broker, is putting together.
Yeah.
Right? We have an amazing lineup of guests, including Egypt Sherrod. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her. She had a very popular HGTV show. She's on the OWN network. So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be all things real estate. You're going to learn from the finance piece to the investing piece. Like there's so much opportunity with that. And we're happy that Samantha has agreed to join us.
So she's going to be our first guest.
Our first guest.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
Samantha. You know, it's funny. I've actually I've had a DM relationship once in a while, like talking to her, but we've never actually spoke. So I'm very excited myself to actually, get to know her and understand her story. And look at that. You have 3 brokers in the same industry looking to work together to provide the content to the people. And that's just to also show everybody, this is not no competition out here. And I don't think anybody, there's a lot of capital and resources out there for everyone to take advantage of.
Yes.
And I think right now we're all seeking for knowledge. I think right now in society, it's all about what can I learn? Because unfortunately, a lot of the information we're being fed today, we're starting to realize because of the great thing, the internet, that some things are not as they seem. Everyone has to do their own research on things that they, deem that is necessary, that is going to affect their lives. But right now, I find all my friends, I find a lot of stock groups, people talking about stocks, Bitcoin,
oh my gosh,
crypto.
Bitcoin.
We gotta talk about that. While we're talking about that, do you have any experience in Bitcoin?
I don't.
You don't.
I've been one of those people that are like, okay, I understand it, I get it, but for me, if I'm gonna invest in something, I really, really need to understand the nitty gritties of it.
Yeah.
And I just never really had the time or the mental awareness.
Yeah.
But now when I'm seeing all what's happening, I'm just like, whoa, you know?
You know what it is? And that's what I mean. You got to take some time to learn more about it. I got to shout out Shaq Hall and Ashley Wright, who's put me on to some information on crypto. I've dibbled and dabbled in it over the past couple of months see.
So maybe you can teach me.
Yeah, I can't teach you nothing. I'm not even going to say that. Let's be honest right now. I can teach you nothing. But I could say that I'm doing my research on it to determine what I know. I don't even have enough information for us to get into a conversation.
Yeah.
This is where I need to bring on an expert.
Yes.
And maybe we could bring on them to talk about it.
Definitely.
But overall, it's just it's important. So to be interested, now we're gonna talk about that. Did you hear about that guy with his token and the $200 million?
Yes.
There's another person too.
I heard another one this morning. He threw away the hard drive.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And now he wants to pay the city $70 million.
$70 million to get the hard drive back. I'm just like, what is really happening? Yeah.
So you know what I want to say on Bitcoin, just to talk to the audience about this, is you have to understand the time value of money. You see that those 2 stories are people who did not take care of something that they could have been valuable in the future. So let's liken it to a house.
Yes.
If someone maintains their house in a good level, it's going to show nice. So when you list it to sell, you'll probably get good value. You don't have to do a lot of renovations. But look at that. You could have held on to the Bitcoin for a while and held on, and look at where you could have been now.
75 million.
Yeah, but it's, you know what? And I know Bitcoin is one aspect, but I could tell you there's so much opportunities. I remember in 2008, when or was it 2007? When did the stock market crash? 2007.
2008 is when we had the flat out, but it started in 2007.
Yeah, it started in Bear Stearns. I think it was September, and then 2008, March.
Yeah.
I remember because I was working at BMO at those times, and BMO was trading at I think $20. It was a 15% dividend yield. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I work for this company. There's no way this company's not going anywhere. It's not going to grow. And I was like, I want to buy a whole bunch, but I didn't. Or I think about even Apple those days. I've owned every one of these phones, and I've only recently started buying their stock. So it's about putting the money for your long-term vision.
Yes.
And how does that fit in? But a lot of the times I feel like a lot of us are just it's not worth it. Look at Pokemon cards and
my gosh.
all that. I'm sure there's some you throw away from your kids.
I know. Those were remember, those were huge. Oh my god.
And now they're selling for thousands at time, right? So it just shows you that I think I don't know if but things rise over time.
They do.
So if things are going to rise over time, and part of the wealth effect is to teach you knowledge and how to understand what to do with the value of anything as it goes up, and what do you do with it. So I'm starting to, in my, getting a little bit older, I'm starting to realize how much you have to take care of your possessions. So it's like when your parents used to tell you, take care of this back in the day, like, I get it, because they see things that people who waste time, life, everything, right?
Yeah. The value of time is it's invaluable. Like, you can never get it back, right?
Yeah.
And then to your point, when you value things, and I think, in my opinion, you open up space and the energy to get more.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So again, thank you. If you guys are just tuning in, just wanted to just redirect you. This is the Wealth Effect show, our very first show. So thank you for tuning in with myself, Nicolle Williams, and Jason Allen John, brought to you by CTMS, so Canadian Tailored Mortgage Solutions. Join us every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch us live online, but it's going to be available on all platforms. Right?
Yeah.
And then just to reiterate, if you have any questions, any suggestions, if you want to be a guest on our show, send us a DM. You can send it to either Jason or myself on Instagram, or to our new Wealth Effect Show Instagram page as well. You can also email
us. Just get in contact with us. The other thing is too is like, we're at always, I know we're doing this show, and I'm not trying to promote or anything, but like, we're open to conversations to help people look at their financial situation. Like, to be honest with you, the way I met Nicolle, she couldn't do a deal for her client, and she called me, and we're the type of individuals that will point you to the best direction. And that's, what I always learned, what I learned about you, that you're going to do what's best for your customers. So anybody, like, even if you don't bank with what we deal with is on the broker channel, or you want to learn some anything about mortgages or our predictions, but I think predictions are unique to people's situations. So in order for me to provide any sort of prediction, I need to know what you want. So we can align it for your goals, right? So we're open, like, get in contact with us to just talk about your finances and ask any questions, because you know what? No question's a dumb question when it comes to money. I'm always, that was one of the biggest things about me that I've always said. It's like, when I didn't know something, I was digging and figuring it out, and I would be asking. And, people are either going to share or they're not, right? And at the end of the day, you're never going to know if you don't ask. Right? Exactly.
So that's exactly what the show is about. We are super thankful for you for joining us, this week. Definitely tune in next week. We're going to be rolling out more about a date with real estate, brought to you by the amazing Samantha Brooks. Again, we have some celebrity guests there, including myself.
Bang, bang.
Obviously.
Or like, where do they get tickets? Because I'm sure they're going to want to know.
So what we will do is you can get tickets by visiting Samantha Brooks' bio in her IG. But more so, if you are interested, send me a DM and I can send you the link.
Send Nicolle a DM, ask her, like, see, and then you're gonna learn a lot. I've been following those posts. I'm excited. I'm probably gonna join in. You guys are gonna see me in those rooms, learning. And that's the thing. There's always an opportunity to learn in all aspects, right? So while we're at home on lockdown, take this opportunity to learn how to add value into your life. And we hope we can add value into your life through the Wealth Effect. Again, my name is Jason Allen John.
And I'm Nicolle Williams. And thank you for tuning in, guys.